Okay, so we've been looking at diagrams illustrating the impact of hydraulic fracturing on the water table, on the aquifer. And you guys have had a few minutes to look at these diagrams, both of the diagrams, and to discuss them in pairs. And I ask you to think about which diagram do you think might have come from a pro-hydrofracking perspective, which one from an anti-hydrofracking perspective, and why? So, who wants to weigh in on that issue? Which one do you think is pro? Which one do you think is anti? Michaela.
So one of the big problems, I guess, with hydraulic fracturing is that it goes underneath our freshwater aquifer, and on the right-hand side picture, it shows a lot of water and how that could get into the water systems, and so I think that would be against fracking.
Okay.
And then the other one on the left-hand side shows how it's so far removed and couldn't touch our water, and it even shows the Empire State Building, Empire State Building, and like how far away fracking is from our water tables.
Okay, and who else? What other evidence do you see? So you see water in one diagram, you see really virtually no water in the other diagram. What else? Yeah.
It's kind of similar to what she said, but the one on the right has much more detail and like explains what different things are, and the one on the left, there's no like, besides the one thing that says like aquifer and maybe Colby, like there's no like words of what each layer is and stuff like that. It's much less detailed, so you can't really take as much from it that you can from the one on the right.
Okay, so not as much detail. So what would you conclude from that in terms of that one? Pro or anti?
Yeah, I think the same that what she said. The one on the right would be against fracking, the one on the left is pro fracking.
Okay, and the one on the left, the one being the one that has less detail?
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to know the detail?
Yeah.
Okay, JJ.
Yeah, I also think just looking as like a general picture at first glance on both of the images, the one on the right looks like kind of like the earth, you know, there's trees and water, and it kind of looks like how someone would think that the earth looks like, whereas the one on the left, it's a square and it doesn't really look like our planet or anything. So if someone was just quickly glancing at these images, they might think like, oh, they kind of like Michaela said, there's nothing, the one on the left has nothing to do with us, and it's just something we can brush off, whereas the one on the right hits home because it's more, even though it's not a familiar image, it definitely looks more like something that we've seen.
That you've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
How many people would agree in terms of this? Is there anybody who would disagree and think that maybe the one on the right might in fact be pro-hydrofracking? Or you're all coming to the same conclusion? You're all coming to the same conclusion pretty much. Michaela, you said that they showed the Empire State Building. Tell me a little bit more about that in terms of where the hydrofracking is occurring and why the Empire State Building? Why would they use that?
I mean, the Empire State Building is an iconic figure of one of the tallest buildings that we have, and it says on here it's 1,200 feet-ish, and I mean it's about a mile going down, and so it's literally a mile down that they're fracking, and it shows little Empire State Buildings on the side. Like, imagine if you were looking up at that, how extremely far up that would be, but instead it's going down. And also shows that the well is just about the same size as that. So,
as many Empire State Buildings, Ina.
Another representation of what that can mean is it could represent New York State in general and how the recent fracking debate has moved on and is going on throughout our government. You know, there's pro and anti-fracking forces. You know, some argue that fracking might generate income, bring us as a source of money. Opponents, this is bad for the environment, you know, this could contaminate our water. So it just kind of shows how this debate hits home.
So reinforcing back that it's a New York State thing instead of maybe using oil geysers or something if it was somewhere else. Okay, anything else that you're seeing in either of these images in terms of evidence that one might be pro-fracking, the other anti-fracking? That hasn't been mentioned so far. Yeah, Carl.
I feel like the quality of the one on the left is a lot better. Like, it looks like a higher quality like production to show this, and I think that could represent that it's a pro-fracking group because it makes them look more credible that they're like producing this high quality, better image.
So tell me more about that. What makes it look more high quality?
I guess just like the details and the layers, like it looks like it's like straight out of a science textbook, and therefore people might trust it even though it's being produced with all like ulterior motives to convince you of something.
Okay, and I hear a little judgment there, ulterior motives. And so you think that one is pro-fracking or
Yeah.
anti-fracking?
Pro-fracking, to be like
Okay.
taken seriously.
Okay, so I want to come back to when we look at both of these. What questions, if you were going to be judging the credibility of the information presented visually here, what kind of questions might you ask that would help you make that judgment? You know.
Well, where is this content coming from? Like, how is it paid for? Who made it? Just
Okay, let me slow that down a little bit. So who made it? Where is it coming from? What's the source? And who paid for it? Who paid for this to be created? Carly was in fact implying that maybe the people in the one on the left had more money, therefore it was better quality, and that might be a piece. Michaela,
Also, where was it distributed and who saw it?
where was it distributed? And both in terms of, what do you mean by where was it distributed?
Was it in a magazine or a textbook? Was it online? What audience was it meant? Who was
Yeah.
meant to see it?
Who was targeted for? Exactly. Any other questions that you'd like to know? Target audience, where was it shared, who made it, how was it paid for? Anything else that would help you judge credibility?